Hi everyone, my name is Melody Estrada. I am the program manager for Grid 110. So excited to see you here tonight. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. I know that some of you are calling from the East Coast and Mountain Time, and for us out here in the PST, it is 6. So thank you for being here with us. I'm excited to be leading today's event, Fireside Fiesta, as we wrap up Hispanic Heritage Month. In Spanish, how many times have you said that this month? Mes Nacional de la Herencia Hispana. Has anyone said that this month? I haven't said it yet. Which is annually celebrated, obviously, from September 15th to October 15th in the U.S. for recognizing contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the U.S. So today we're going to have discussions around the experiences and stories of Hispanic entrepreneurs. I have the incredible honor of sharing the virtual stage with some amazing, trailblazing Latino leaders, entrepreneurs, and truly the sweetest people on earth. I may be biased. But I am blessed to have them as friends and some of my biggest role models and supporters. So please help me welcome Denise Soler Cox, Rafael Alvarez, y Yvette Carolina Aguadelo Lopez. We are saying full names today. And Maria Palacio, unfortunately, was unable to be with us tonight, but she sends her regards. So we'll jump right in. I'm going to do light introductions. First up, we have Denise Soler Cox, who is essentially the queen of belonging. Truly, she went from being a stay-at-home mom to now being an award-winning activist filmmaker, top 100 podcaster, and sought-after international speaker. I had the pleasure of working with Denise in the winter of 2018, where she launched her first NEA Accelerator program for Latina founders and startups in beautiful Breckenridge, Colorado. And this woman is truly amazing and walks the talk. I'm so happy to see you here, Mujer. Big hugs.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor.
So happy to have you here. Next up, we have Yvette Carolina Aguadelo Lopez, co-founder and CEO of Three Lopez Media Inc., an Emmy Award winner producer with a broad formation as an actress, producer, and digital marketer. I think when I met her, I found out that she was in like a soap opera at one point. I was like, oh my God, I know a celebrity. This Venezolana came here in 2016 with her husband, leaving everything behind to build her American dream. And I have had the extreme pleasure of collaborating with her and her team on several projects, and most recently on the launch of a marketing campaign for a San Jose-based organization. So welcome, Yvette. Un gran abrazo. Happy to have you here.
Gracias. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, so happy to have you. Lastly, we have Rafael Alvarez calling in from New York. Shout out to the East Coast. Thank you for committing to our 9 p.m. panel discussion. Rafael is the CEO and founder of LatinX and minority franchise brands and minority fintech. Rafael founded a tax franchise, check this, the first Latino-owned tax preparation franchise in the US in 1986 with $200 to his name, 2 computers, and a fax machine. Yes, I do my taxes with them. I have the great pleasure of meeting Rafael back in 2018 when he took the Stanford Latino Entrepreneurship Initiative Scaling Program, and I have witnessed his business grow year over year. Amigo, it's so good to see you. I love everything that you're doing. So I can't believe I agreed to a 1-hour conversation with 3 other Latinos and several of you here in the crowd. I feel like time is going to fly by. So let's start off by having you all introduce yourself to our guest and share where your Latinidad and Hispanic heritage comes from. Denise, can you do us the honor of kicking us off and then popcorning to Yvette or Rafael?
Sure. So it's just where I'm from, right?
Yeah.
It's not what I do. Okay. So I was born in New York City, and my parents are from Puerto Rico and grandfathers from Cuba. So Melody and I share that kind of heritage there. It feels very like, how could this possibly be someone from, that you could have someone from both places, but it really did happen. And so, yeah. And if you want to learn more about it, I actually made a movie about growing up kind of between 2 places.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I guess I am the next one. My name is Yvette Carolina Aguadelo Lopez. Yes, full name. And I'm originally from Venezuela. Nací en Caracas, Venezuela. And I arrived in this country 6 years ago because I wanted to have opportunities that unfortunately my country didn't offer to me. So I'm here to live the American dream, and I think I'm doing it.
Thank you, Yvette.
All right. Rafael Alvarez. I guess I was born in the Dominican Republic, in La Capital, in Santo Domingo. Came to the United States, came to New York City when I was a teenager. Just like many immigrants with luggage. I came with nothing, literally, but just with luggage full of a lot of dreams. And one of those dreams, believe it or not, was to at least establish and have a successful business in the United States before, I guess, I have 10 years living in the United States. And I think I did it by year number 3.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you guys for sharing that. And I think, Rafael, I'll just kick it right back to you. We'll just jump right in. What does it mean to run a Hispanic-owned business for you? Maybe share a little bit more, obviously, about your business and any Hispanic traditions or childhood memories. But how do your Latin roots, your Hispanic roots, play a role in your business?
Well, being Latin is a huge responsibility. I come from a family that have no business background. My family, my parents, my grandparents, I don't know anybody in my family that had a business, to be honest with you. So I just came to New York City, enrolled in college. I finished high school in the Dominican Republic, so I came straight to college here. I happened to be very popular in college, became president of the student government, member of the swimming team for 4 years, became very popular. But I had a dream. I wanted to establish my own business. For me, I remember my dad used to tell me, my son, remember, you have to be not only once, you have to be 3 times better than everybody else. And he used to say that all the time to me. And I said, why is that I had to be 3 times better? I said, well, you have to be better than the gringos, number one. Then you have to be better than the Dominicans here in New York. And then you have to be better than the Dominicans in the Dominican Republic, because believe it or not, they see us different here. Even though we are the same, they don't see this, they don't see ourselves, they think that we're different for whatever reason. Yeah. So you have to be better than all of them. Yeah. And my dad used to say all the time that you have to compete against yourself. You have to be better, do better and better and better and better. But being a Latino business owner is a big responsibility for me, because I came and I landed right in the heart of Washington Heights in New York City. That's northern Manhattan, a tough neighborhood for some time, very tough neighborhood. But I was able to survive thanks to my parents' wisdom and great education, I guess. But I love my Latino, roots and heritage, and I really I have passion for it. I think I love what I do, and I try to apply all of that into my businesses nowadays.
Thank you. No, I totally agree. That sense of needing to work like that much harder. I can absolutely relate to that. My mom said the same thing. You need to be in the honors classes. You need to be in the AP classes. You need to that's how you're going to stand out. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I absolutely resent.
If you don't mind sharing one more thing, I remember the first day when I in order for me to open my first business, my first store, I needed $20,000. This is a Latino, so you see the way Latino really think. And I remember, I just saw the opportunity. I found a space. I wanted to have my dream of opening up my business. I knew that nobody would lend me 20,000, not even 10, not even 5. And I said, well, I'm gonna have to ask my dad to see if he can lend me the $20,000. So I called him early. He said, "Hey, Dad, at what time you're getting home tonight? Because, from work, I have to talk to you." And I remember when I told my dad, "Hey, I need $20,000. I wanted to ask you to lend me $20,000 to open up my first business." He said, he looked around and said, "You see, Dolorita, por eso que no se puede tener dinero en Nueva York." That's my mom. He was telling my mom, see, Dolores, that's why we cannot have money in New York. In New York, we have to send all the money all the time to the Dominican Republic. So obviously his dream was to go back. And he literally told me no, honestly. He says, "No way, you have no business experience. There is no way that I'm gonna give you $20,000 to open up a business. I'd rather send that money to the island and really put it there, until it's time for me to retire."
No, oh my gosh. I think I remember you telling me that story. And that is so funny you mentioned that, because that's the whole point of our upcoming Friends and Family program, where, that whole first round of raising money for your business with your family is like, abuela will probably give you $5. Like, I remember asking my parents for food, for food money. Like, I barely got food money.
Well, that's exactly what happened, believe it or not, because my mother was listening to my dad. And at the moment that he left the room, she came to me and she said, "Listen, my son, listen, I hear that you want to open up a business. Don't listen to that old man. I don't have $20,000, but he's $20. Just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it. Don't listen to him. Just go and do it. Yeah. I think that you can do this, my son. Just go and do it." And I always think about that, because sometimes we only think about opening a business, all we need is the money. But I realize that it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. It's about the support. The more support you have, money will come. You can create it. And I hope that maybe, I don't want to take over the event, but later on, I would love to tell you how I was able to raise those $20,000 when my father told me no, because in reality, that was my fuel. That was really, that kind of gave me the fire to really do what I have to do to prove him wrong. I'll tell you later. Go ahead.
Thank you, Rafael. I know, Denise, I saw you unmute yourself. I don't know if you want to jump right in.
Yeah, no, I love how this just started out. And I have to say, I love that my job is I get to listen to stories all the time. So I can like sit back and listen, and I love listening to Rafael's stories. I'm all ears for it. And I nod in my head just with so much enthusiasm with his mother's advice. Like, it really does seem sometimes like money is between you and that thing you want. Mm-hmm. And actually that couldn't be farther from the truth. $20, and look at where he is right now, saying that exact thing in his own way. Mm-hmm. I got started, and I made a movie. It's called Being Enya. And in the movie, you learn that I sold my wedding rings, engagement ring, mm-hmm. wedding band, and my husband sold his, so that we could pay our bills. It wasn't enough to finance a film, but it was enough to get us by for a few months. And so the thing is you do whatever you need to do. Yeah. You do whatever you need to do, and then you create, and you'd be very surprised with an incredibly huge commitment, the magic that can come into your life in the form of money and support through people. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. and then boom, that's what I have to say about that. Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I remember hearing that story too. And that, I think that's even in your film, right?
Yes, it is in my film. I'm going to put that here so you guys can see it. There's a moment. And you also see that my Mercedes got repoed. That was a savings.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't have to worry about the car payment anymore. But yeah, and it's like, you know what? That's like, it puts me in good company. You know what I mean? There's some really successful people that lost houses and cars, to live a dream. And so, of course it caused some, anguish and challenge, but it's something that it's part of the journey, and it speaks to like what you're willing to do to have that thing in your heart that you just are you can't imagine not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, well, would you live through this? Would you make this level of sacrifice? And if you would, then you're going to be fine.
Right. I think one time, Denise, you and I had a conversation, and it was around if you have a business idea, awesome. And if you like put it to the side and you try to ignore and it keeps showing up in different ways, that's when you you need to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm almost positive I had that conversation with you.
Yeah. And I had that conversation a lot with, I literally just had it on the way over here. There's a book called Big Magic, mm-hmm. and it's written by the gal that wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And she talks about people having like this idea that many people are given the same idea. And the premise is it's for the advancement of like humanity, right? It's a really big concept.
Right.
And so it's kind of like people are seeded with ideas, mm-hmm. and only one or two of them will actually do it. And then a few others will go off and do some of the other ones. Like especially entrepreneurs, we end up with lots and lots of ideas. I'm like an idea factory, like I have notes in my phone with, I'm going to change the world 1,000,000 times over. But like, I can't tell you how many people have told me, oh, I was going to make that exact same movie. Mm-hmm. Like you literally made the movie I was going to make. Wow. And I'm like, that's amazing. So did you make it? Did you do anything else? And I often hear, and I mean 99.9% here is no, I couldn't because I didn't have the money. Mm-hmm. You, on the other hand, must have had access to resources and all the stuff. And I'm like, that is fascinating that you perceive that, and that is the thing that you think that made this possible. Mm-hmm. Because really, my personal transformation and commitment to this that went well beyond money is what made this real. And what makes Rafael's business real and Yvette's business real. Like the sacrifice that no one will ever know about, the level of sacrifice, personal sacrifice, and also personal growth. Yep. That's those two things together is what makes these things happen.
Yep. The grit, the support. Totally. Absolutely. I love what you said about like a big idea factory. I have, happens to me sometimes. I can't go to sleep. Yvette, I know that you resonate a lot with these stories as well, being immigrant as well. Like chime in, share with us a little bit about how being Latina, Hispanic, plays a role in your business.
Absolutely. I can resonate so much with creativity, sacrifices, because I came here for one reason. I couldn't make my life the way I envision my life in my country because of the lack of opportunity, because the bad economic situation and political situation. So I'm blessed that I'm here, but I also came here, as Rafael said, with 2 bags full of dreams. That's the only thing, and 1 camera and my husband. That's the only thing that we had. The camera is super, super important, plays an important role in this history. But we immigrants, I think, we have a different mindset, at least in my case, because I knew that I had no option to fail, that I had to make possible my life and then the business here, because going back to Venezuela was not an option. So when you don't have other options than succeed, you definitely make every sacrifice, no matter what, to make your dreams come true. And that is the reason that through Lopez, we came here with an idea. Actually, we didn't even think about having a big company and all this. No, we arrived here with a project, and then let's see what's happened. And thanks God, the project went well. And even when we arrived with no contact, knowing no people, only my sister-in-law, not knowing the language, that's huge, and not knowing the culture, because America is a mix of many, many, many things that we didn't know. Actually, to be honest with you, I realized that I was Latina once that I arrived here, because before then I was Latin American. I was Venezuelan. No other thing than that. When I arrived here, okay, yes, and I looking around, yes, yeah, maybe I'm Venezuela, but I'm something bigger than that. I am a Latina.
Mm-hmm.
I am part of a community, and I relate to that sense of belonging and to all those stories there. So having that mindset, we were able to create a business that is thriving and that basically because we knew that we didn't have an option. So we gave our all to connect with people. Our company is Three Lopez Media. Our purpose is to tell stories that create and foster meaningful connections. Why? Because we are Latinos, we are warm, we care about people and family. Mm-hmm. So we want to create connections, and we find something that we are good at, that is telling stories, no matter if it is through a video, a photography, a web design, or a content for social media. Then we realized, okay, we can help people with that. It's not only that you are good at that, you can help people by doing this, because there is a community that needs to change the narrative that we have, and that is the Latino community. And we also are helping another minority community to tell the stories, to create a different narrative. So, okay, now we came with that sense that we do our art just por el placer de hacer nuestro arte, for the sake of art, but then we transition that to a business. Mm-hmm. When we serve people, when we help people doing what we love with our art. So
I'm so pumped up. I'm so excited to hear your stories again. My ears are getting red, because I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Yvette and Denise and Rafael, for sharing that. Seriously, I feel like I'm getting to know you again. And this, I mean, it hits home, because my dad came from Cuba and my mom came from Puerto Rico, and I absolutely hear it all the time, sacrificamos todo por ti, and just that storyline and everything they had to do to come here. So one question we did have was a little off script, but you all mentioned about money, right? So how did you end up financing your company? Loans? Was it grants? I know that Denise, you had mentioned you had pawned off your wedding ring. What were ways that you guys, Rafael, you got a no from your mom. So what did you guys do to end up financing your companies? I guess I'll kick it to Rafael since you're unmuted.
All right, so I guess you guys already know, you hear about the $20 that my mom gave me after I asked my dad to lend me $20,000. So obviously I knew that nobody would lend me 20, 15, 10, or 5, but it just happened to be very popular at City College. I went to City College of the City University of New York. So I said, wow, so how am I gonna do this? I really wanna open up this business. So what I did, I asked 35 of my closest friends, including some of my teammates from the streaming team, each to ask me $1,000. Out of the 35 people, 18 of them says yes. And I said, okay, great, this will do it. So I took the $18,000 that I got from my friends, $200 that I have in my bank account, 2 computers, a fax machine, and the $20 from my mom, and I opened up my first location back in 1986. Maybe some of you were not born back then. But it was my second year in college, and I was so proud. I started doing taxes. I saw the opportunity of getting into the tax business because everybody was doing the taxes by hand. I figured it out that the IRS was getting ready to launch the electronic filing program. So I figured everybody will be doing the taxes electronically in the future. So let me jump on it. I worked very hard that season, and all the money that I generated out of that tax season, I did about almost 500 tax returns. I went back and I paid that $1,000 to all of those people that lent it to me, all my friends. And I was so proud and happy after that first tax season when I look at my office and I say, wow, Then after that, obviously, raising capital has never been easy. I think that, I've been in business for 35 years. That has been one of the biggest challenge. And I know that Maria asked that question about financing too, which is great. The only thing that I can say to you is this: as a Latino, I never felt discriminated. Discrimination is always there, even in my home island, in my home country.
Yep.
People are discriminated all the time. So I believe, based on my family, education and family values, that whatever I have is because I earn it. I don't want people to give anything to me. I have to work for it and I earn it. The only thing that I didn't like was every time I applied for a loan to any financial institution, I always was denied for one reason to another. So I had to be creative in order for me to capitalize and fund my projects. I started this company with literally nothing, just working hard during the tax season, making as much money as possible and taking it to the next level. Something that I like, that I recommend anyone that is in business, that I know that work for my favor, is that all the profit that I generated, most of the money, I put it back into the business. I was put it back into the business. I put it back. I was taking little tiny amount of money just to keep making it. But like that, I keep growing the business, because it's like a catch-22. You have to figure out a way how you can generate more income than what you're spending. I learned that from my dad, by the way. My dad used to say, never spend more than what you are generating. So the key here, if you cannot get capital, if you cannot get financial, if you cannot get loan from financial institution, so you have to figure out how you can really survive, how you can really, infuse money into your business. That's the way I started doing it. Then later on, I started building a reputation and credibility with my clients. And as the business progressed and grow and grow and grow, then I have a lot of clients that they have money and they didn't know where to invest those money because of the nature of my business as an accountant. People were coming to me asking me for advice. Oh, what should I do? I'm retiring. I have $500,000. I have $1 million. I have all this money. I don't know what to do. So I started creating like some kind of maybe crowdfunding type of investment. So instead of going to the traditional financial institution, I created my own internal crowdfunding with my own clients. So I had doctors that were my clients, really, that had plenty of money, and they were lending me $1,000 to, 100, 200, up to $500,000. And then I was giving them the money back with a significant amount of interest built in, because I knew as the more money I pump into my business, the more money I'll be able to generate, the more money, the easier and faster I was giving back that money to my investors and give them a significant amount of interest. So it was a win-win for everybody. So the business started growing at a point that it went out of control. When I didn't know what to do. When you have so many clients that people tell you, oh my God, in order for me to see you, I have to wait a day. I have to wait like 10 hours to see you. So I knew that I had a problem. So I wanted to take the business to the next level. I was either open up corporate-owned locations, or I decided to create and use the franchising business model. I did a little research and I realized that none of my competitors were Latino. At that time was H&R Block, Jackson Hewitt, and Liberty Tax. And then I said, you know what? I have an edge. I have an advantage against those guys, because the census says that the Latinos are going to be the majority in the future. I am the only Latino out of this group. So let me just then establish the first Latino-owned franchise in the nation, competing with those big 300,000-pound gorillas. And I went ahead with that whole enthusiasm of building the American dream, I had no idea what I was getting into. I thought that running a franchise company would be something easy, because I have already achieved a lot of success. At that time, I was doing more than 10,000 tax returns out of one office, the largest tax preparation office in the nation. Not even H&R Block with 10,000 locations. They didn't have one location doing 10,000 tax return, personal, and around, I believe, 800, 900 corporate taxes. So for me, financing, you have to really think out of the box, be creative, and figure out a way how I can really infuse money into my business so I could keep my business growing and growing and growing and growing until the business explodes. Really make it happen.
Wow. Before I jump to Denise and Yvette, did you give your friends and everyone a share of your company?
Oh, there's some of them that they always ask me, but I have been very generous with some of them. Some of them still work with me after 35 years, believe it or not. Some of them are still my friends.
Wow.
Some of them became my compadres, you know, of my children and their children. And that's something that I really have, that I have really value. It is working and appreciate the people that help you take the business where they are. I only say that I'm not the one. The credit should be for my team. And I have, look, one of my right hand right now, as a matter of fact, I just launched a company called LatinX franchise brand, which is now a brand that now, a company that is gonna have Latino brand their business and franchise. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna give a shout out to Claudia. I saw her here, she's on one of the audience, Claudia Mercado. So we are talking because she's also part of the L-Band and she has a kind of a business. We are collaborating and try to launch, you know, her business, franchise, her business nationwide. So it's all about Dr. Professor Parra's mantra, do business with each other and help each other. So it's all about that. So I know that it's not easy. You need to figure out a way how to really capitalize, how to really help people, how to really take your business to the next level. And this is what I was able to figure out. Don't ask me how, because I never, like I said, I learned making mistakes. I made 300,000 mistakes. I fell down to the floor. I scratched the floor like 300,000 times. And the same way I fell on the floor, I got up, took all the dust up, and then I went back up there until I did it, until I tried. And the same thing, even with the franchising. I mean, if I tell you the story of the franchising, you're going to say, wow, you know. But look, it's all about that persistence. And I don't know, I mean, people said that immigrants, I guess, think we have something different than the people that are born and raised in the United States. But that drive is the drive. We have something, at least I can see it on me. I have something that I don't see in other people. I don't know what it is. For me, and I don't do it for the money anymore. I mean, I made a lot of money, millions and millions of money throughout my career, but I don't do it for the money. I do it more for personal satisfaction of figuring out how many Latinos I can help to become millionaire. That is my goal. That's why I decided to go get into the franchising business. Traditional Latinos, when they achieve success, you know what they do? They shut, you know, the door. They don't want to share the business, their success with nobody else, right? They die and they take it with them. I decided to do the opposite. I've been teaching so many people what I learned, what I do, how they can be the same or better than me, technically, because that's what franchising is really all about. I'll talk to you about franchising later. I'm gonna give the opportunity to.
I love it. I love it. Rafael, thank you for sharing all those gems. I totally agree with everything you said. But Yvette or Denise, do you want to jump in and share a little bit on how you ended up financing your company?
Yeah, I'm loving listening to Rafael. I just have so many questions for you. I think the very best thing I could say, and Rafael kind of pointed to it too, is that in my opinion, there really isn't a straight line, and rejection has been a huge part of my experience too. And in January, I've been in business for 8 years, and I have been, like, it's one thing when people say it and you're like, yeah, I'm so ready to be rejected. And then it's another thing to be like, are you kidding me? Like, how many times do I have to pick myself off the floor, you know, because you just feel like the next time it's just going to work. And so to echo what he said, like being creative with what is already in front of you. I'm deeply spiritual person that believes that there's no way that you would have an idea, a big idea, the kind of idea that transforms lives, right? Like franchising tax opportunities for Latinos. I'm not surprised. 10,000 tax returns. I mean, of course, right? That's a big idea. And I know everybody here has a big idea too, there's no way you have that big idea unless you have the way through to see it through. And that doesn't mean that it's a paved with gold, you know, but there's a way. You might need to get your machete and start cutting down, you know, sugarcane or whatever's in your way, but there is a way because there is the desire. And if that desire's there, I promise you the way is there too. And your job is to see where the opportunity is. And oftentimes there are people that will say, well, no one's giving me money, so I guess I can't do it. Or everyone told me no, so I guess I'm just SOL. I'll just get a job because I'm not meant to do it. And then there's another whole way of looking at it, which is, I guess I haven't figured out that way yet. You know, I guess I haven't figured out the path, because where is it? You know, and pray for the path. Pray for the vision to see where the path is. However blurry it might be when you're taking your steps into it. But I deeply believe that there's no way that anyone could replicate what happened with me, because it was really many, many, many acts of generosity to like bring you to your knees level, you know, and many personal sacrifices too. But I had to go on do it, you know, the way to go is the way you're going. And so the trust and faith has always been where what I hold on to the most, right? And that one day if I wake up and the desire isn't there, well, then I'm supposed to be doing something else. But this day has not come. And so I believe that for you as well.
Absolutely.
That is beautiful, Denise. And I can relate so much to that, because if I look back 6 years ago, when my husband and I decided to move to San Francisco with basically no savings, to basically start a business doing a play as an independent artist in San Francisco. If somebody asked me right now, hey, I'm thinking about moving to San Francisco to do a play. I don't have any grants. I don't have anybody there, just you. I don't know anybody else. I will say, no way. Are you crazy? Please don't do that. You will end up being another homeless in the city. Please don't do it. But we did it. And we did it because we didn't know that the amount of things that happen in the city, and because we decided to take that leap, to have that faith that yes, we can make it. And when we arrived here, things started falling into place in a way that we never imagined. And we started thinking creatively, okay, how we can do that. Because in our case, my husband and I, we came from the world of art. We didn't start business or anything related. We started cinematography. And when you study cinematography, unfortunately, they didn't teach you about financing your project. They didn't teach that. So you have to learn, and you have to find a way to make it possible to build your opportunities. Because most of the time, yes, you probably will receive a no, but I don't know if, because I'm terca, and since I was a child, every time my mom told me no, I came back later and say, what if, Mom, what if I do this? And then, so I always figured out a way to receive a yes from my parents and build the way of the things that I wanted for me. So this applies to my business, this applies to my life, because I think this is bigger than just a business. It's not the money, it's about the desire that is within you, inside your heart. What is the thing that I'm really passionate about? And that thing that you're really passionate about is the thing that you are good at, and that you will find a way to do. So definitely, to find the money, you just have to get creative and trust and go for it. Go for it.
Yes, I love it. I have the honor of like just hearing and knowing all your stories. So it's, and I know that first with several of you, well, specifically with Denise and Yvette, there have been sessions where I know we've cried because I just how hard it is. And I mean, at the time I didn't know how hard it was until this past year when I started my own consulting company. And it's like, how did I do a program? How did I run a program like for this? But now how do I do it now? So having to apply it is so different than like leading a course or a program. So I can absolutely resonate with you guys as well. And I just appreciate you guys sharing that. Before we jump into like the questions from the crowd, I want to give you guys an opportunity to share a little bit on like who your role models were in the Latino community, or maybe just in general, like who kind of like kept you motivated, or who inspired you to move forward and continue building your businesses. Yvette,
I'm gonna start. Yeah, we're connected. For me, it's so easy as anyone who dares to build their own opportunities. How do those who don't accept a no and do what their heart really says. And by that, I mean that goes from Lin-Manuel Miranda, John Leguizamo, that are highly recognized names right now, but also all those unknown heroes that are part of our community, those that are they're doing their best day by day, just to dream, to live the American dream.
Yes, thank you, Yvette. Rafael, who is a role model for you in the community, and who's helped keep you motivated, inspired as you were building your businesses?
Obviously, my dad is my gasolina, my fuel, right? He said no to me, and I did it because of that. As a matter of fact, I'm releasing a book in about a month or two. My first book is about my whole story and how I made it with build an empire, a multi-million-dollar company with $200 to compute in a fax machine. And the title of the book is Because My Father Says No, believe it or not. Porque mi papá me dijo que no. But yeah, my father is one of my role model. Another role model, you said in the community, is someone that I have collaborated tremendously in my community. Like I said, I grew up in Washington Heights, Northern Manhattan, and I have the opportunity to get heavily involved in my community, helping a lot. I started running political campaigns. But when I was in college, I met someone that made a significant impact. There is a Puerto Rican organization in New York City called Aspira of New York. Aspira had a program at City College, and I just happened to land in that program. And their goal is to help students, really help the student to graduate and do the homework and keep up. But through the Aspira, because I was the president of the student government, I had a seat in the board of the Aspira of New York. And I was representing all the students in all the colleges that Aspira had a program. And the chairman of the board at that time, it was the one and only Luis Miranda. Luis Miranda is the father of Lin-Manuel Miranda. So I established a pretty good relationship with Luis Miranda. From there, later on, we started running political campaign in Washington Heights. I became the president of the Democratic Club. Luis was the treasurer, and I was the campaign manager. And most of the meetings used to take place, believe it or not, in Luis Miranda's kitchen. That's how I saw Lin-Manuel growing when he was a little boy, running all over the apartment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, Luis became a role model for me because he used to work when I was a student, he was already working for the mayor of the city of New York, Edward Koch at that time. And I happened to build a pretty good relationship, and he has been there, always advising me, collaborating with me, and really making sure that I am in the right path, really in business. And I believe he's very proud with what I have achieved, because I consider myself part of his inner circle, and I really thanks him for everything that he done to me, for me, all of these years.
Wow. So, moral of the story is like, be friends with Rafael. He is.
So let me know when you want ticket to see Hamilton, right?
No, yes. Yes. Denise.
So,
Go ahead, Denise.
Oh no, so what Yvette said totally hit home about being inspired by the people that you just know are working really hard, but that everybody might not know who they are, but you can just tell they're working so hard. And you just like, and that inspires me every day to see that. And then authors inspire me. Esmeralda Santiago inspires me, and Sonia Sotomayor, people that, Julia Alvarez, like all the, the greats, the varsity team, because those are the books that I was reading when I was a little girl, and seeing myself in their stories. And the three women that are on my phone, I have a dream board on my phone. There are three Black women, Oprah, Ava, and Michelle. To me, they're the fattest ass woman ever. And Ava Duvernay is my biggest inspiration, because she's an activist filmmaker, and she also tells stories from the margins, which is what I did with my first film, what I'm doing with my second film, and what I hope to do, honestly, for the rest of my life. And also she speaks and shares her story in where she's invited, and I'm so inspired by that. And that's another thing that I get to do with my work. So there are only a few people that are making films, speaking, activists, and she's doing that in the Black community, and I'm doing that in the Latinx community. So, and I feel like one day we'll get a chance to work together. So that's how I answer that.
Yes. Oh my God, I love it. I know, Denise, you have interviewed so many people. You have spoken to so many people. I mean, it was funny, as you were talking, I was like, dude, like my LinkedIn inspires me. Like when I go through my LinkedIn, I'm just like, this person's doing this, and this milestone's happening, and this person just got this award. It's just, it pushes you to move and continue to move forward. Because it is the common thing I hear, that entrepreneurship is the loneliest thing, especially if you're a solo founder. And you're going on a venture, and you're kind of have this idea and this dream, and it's lonely. And so like, you have to make sure that you stay motivated. And by doing that is also making sure that you surround yourself with the right people. I literally said, you guys are my role models in the beginning. So, seeing you guys, push forward and push through has, been extremely influential. We are now, wow. See, I knew the 1 hour was like too short because it's 6:52. Well, 9:52 for Rafael. We are going to allow our guests in the crowd to ask questions. So if you guys have a question for our panelists, feel free to unmute yourself or to write it in the chat. We want to make sure that you guys also ask those burning questions. So Laura, I see that you unmuted yourself.
Yes. Do you guys feel now that it's 2022 and LatinX has gotten a lot more spotlight? Sorry, my roommate is cooking. Do you guys feel like there's more power for those that are starting a business during these times?
Of course. I gotta jump in. Of course. Just look at the numbers. Latinos are opening up more business than ever. It's amazing what's happening out there in terms of business creation. Latino is really breaking records like never before. So yeah, we are opening more businesses. Latino now are really becoming more business savvy. They are figuring it out now. They are learning the way. There are a lot more support and a lot more tools there for you to survive in the business. This whole pandemic really it kind of shake up the tree. I mean, there were a lot of Latino that had a job and they were comfortable and they thought that they will never get fired. They never will lose it. And this whole pandemic now make them realize, wait a minute, I better start thinking about doing something else. What if I don't find a job? So there is a tremendous opportunity. LatinX is the future. I mean, if you do your homework, if you research, if you look at the census, we are the future. So anybody that is investing on us, anybody that is opening up a business focusing on the Latino community, it has to be successful. You will do well. So as a matter of fact, that's why I'm doing something that right now nobody else is doing in my industry, in franchising. I just launched a company. Actually, I just launched two companies. One is Minority FinTech, which is a lending platform to provide loans to my Latino people, because they don't really have access to capital. And the second thing is franchising, LatinX franchise brand, which is the company helping Latino successful business owners to understand what franchising is all about, because that is like Chinese for them. We don't know it. Nobody told us that we could make money by getting involved in the franchising industry. None of you. If I ask all of you, I guarantee you that none of your parents told you go to college, get a college degree. And by the way, there is something called franchising that if you invest a lot of money or some money into that, you could become a millionaire. Nobody told us that secret. So I'm the one telling everybody. I'm the only one in the franchising industry nationwide that is doing that, helping Latino to establish to franchise their own business model.
I love it. I can't wait to send people your way.
Thank you.
I love it. We have, let me see. I don't know if you guys also want to answer that question, but we got another question in the chat. I'll give this one over to Yvette. Did you want to add anything?
I just wanted to add that it's not only about the numbers, but also about the information that is out there and the resources that you have to educate yourself, and also the support, because I know that probably one of the things, at least in my case, it took me a couple of years to realize that I had to own my own story in order to be successful. So to overcome that imposter syndrome and all the doubts that come to you when you are trying to make it possible. So I think right now we have a huge community of supporters. So, and that is good, that is happening because we are in the media, we are in so many places, so you can find a group that supports your journey.
Yeah, and I wanna add to that too, Laura, that I would look, if I were someone that was just getting started and trying to figure out where my people were, there's enough of us out there that are sharing the wealth, like Rafael said too, like about how a lot of people have traditionally gotten successful and then they close shop and they go away with all their money. There's we're all from, it looks, I mean, I know all of us on the panel have participated on the Stanford program, and sure, we're accepted because we're a certain type of person where it's like, believe there's plenty for everybody, right? And I would look for the people that are nurturing you as a Latina, because there's a very specific experience that we have, and it's ideological. We open this up, talking about family and the group, and we look at the world differently than mainstream dominant culture. And it's really important to understand how that affects you in business, because we will make different decisions, and sometimes not the best decisions, because we're guided by some values that aren't necessarily consistent in business. An example is this: we're taught that, let's say dominant culture is taught to self-advocate, and we call that bragging, right? So it's like, seeing someone model self-advocating, seeing someone model and help mentor you through that would be a really important thing. And I don't know if that's an issue, but oftentimes for Latinas specifically, we just have a hard time taking credit for our great work.
No, totally agree. And I'm doing this with my sister, and we do have a hard time because we do believe self-advocating is bragging. So sometimes we're like, but how are people going to know our story? We don't talk about it. So we go back and forth. So this was really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Yvette said about owning your story, huge, is like all of it. And the brilliance, the beauty, the magnificence, the coincidences, the grace, and the hardship. It doesn't all have to be this terrible life. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All of it, including the talents and skills, the unique abilities, all of that. You know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for the question, Laura. Last question. I know we're coming up here on time, so we will ask this one really quickly. Since inception, how long did it take you to scale your business? So whoever wants to tackle that one.
I made my first $1 million 20 years after I started the business, that I can tell you. From there, the millions, they were coming like, the hardest part is to break that, to get to $1 million.
Yeah. Then
after that, you get to the second one, you say, what happened? You know, at a point that you see yourself as spending, I mean, it's all relative. I mean, the hardest, I remember when $100 used to be a lot, $1,000 used to be a lot. Now I spend $1 million in marketing and say, what happened? Where did the money go? So it's all relative. It's just, you know, I don't know. I never focused or build the business thinking about the money. The money is not what, like I said, it's not what motivates me. It's helping people. I focus on the people. The more people I help, the more taxes I prepare, obviously the more money will come. But it was more about people. So in my mind, doing 2,000, 3,000, 5, 7, 8, 10,000 people, 10,000 clients, I mean, multiply by 200 right there. It tells you it's $2 million, right?
Yeah. Wow.
I would like to add that it's not only about the time that it takes you, but to keep you there, that you really learn what you need to learn to keep you at the level. Every time you set a milestone for your business, you have to be ready, okay, to sustain your company there and think about the next level, because it doesn't matter, or for me, it doesn't make sense to really, okay, hit the goal and then go down because I'm not ready for it. My team is not ready for it. I don't have the processes to sustain that growing. So I think before thinking about a number is thinking about the processes, thinking about the system and how to sustain your business there. And then plan for the next one.
I love it.
Denise, muted.
Yeah, I think it all also depends on what's your there's like a certain kind of emotional metabolism that you need, right? And is that a match for however long it's gonna take, period, right? Because it's gonna take what it's gonna take. And so do you have that? And so do you have what you need emotionally and physically? And are you making sure that you can stay balanced and that you also have a life, right? To get you there, because it seems like, well, they do it, you know. I remember I shared my age on Facebook one time, and I shared how old I was when I started Project Enya. I just turned 51, and I shared how old I was when I started Project Enya. And it was the funniest thing. People were like, oh my God, I'm so relieved. She was 43. Well, I'm 38 and I'm like, and they were like comparing and like feeling all kinds of good about themselves, right? And the thing is, I'm I do the same thing. Like, it's so easy to fall into the trap of like, well, I'm ahead of her, so I'm doing great. Right. And the thing is that we're not running the same race. You are running your race. I am running my race. And what about, the question is, would you do it still if it took twice as long as you think it's going to take today? Would you still do it? Like, what in you is driving you to do it? And because the money will come. Like, we're in our 7th year now, 7. And we finally got that big opportunity that's showing me that things are, that we've, like, that the first big milestone just happened 2 weeks ago.
Oh my
And I have a very thriving speaking career. I speak 30 to 50 times a year for 5 years. So like, it's been a long time since I felt like I needed to sell my stuff to pay bills, right? But like, the vision of where that has guided me with this company, it's fine. Like, what happened 2 weeks ago is like, holy mackerel, it looks like it's gonna happen. Holy moly, but if you knew right now, would you do it for 7 years? Would you do it for 10 years? And if the answer is yes, then keep going, because many people will have the same idea.
Yeah.
And many will get tired and quit. And only a few will have that emotional metabolism to keep going. And all you have to do is keep taking one step. That's it, just in one direction forward. That's it.
Oh my gosh, yes, so many good gems. I've never heard of that. Emotional metabolism. Is that what you said? That's really good. That's really good. No, it's funny. I had a Stanford professor that once said, ideas are cheap, execution is hard. So everyone's had the idea you've had, but did they actually follow through with it, right? So it never fails me. I'm always in awe of your stories, and I love listening. I know Denise and you and I can go for hours just talking, and even Yvette and Rafael. Thank you guys so much for being here and sharing about your businesses and your Latinidad and your Hispanic heritage. You guys have dropped so many gems tonight, and I'm